April 27, 1945. Benito Mussolini is trying to escape Italy. He's disguised in a German military coat, riding with retreating soldiers near Lake Como. For over 2 decades, he ruled Italy with violence, propaganda, and fear. Now he's hiding from the same Italians he once controlled. He knows if they find him, they won't show mercy. He's running from the consequences. July 29, 1883, Benito is born to a socialist father who worships Karl Marx and names the boy Benito after a Mexican revolutionary. The kid is violent from the start. At boarding school, he stabs another student with a knife, gets expelled, goes to another school, stabs another kid, gets expelled again. But he's also smart. He becomes a journalist and joins the Italian Socialist Party. Within years, he's one of their top leaders, writing for their newspapers and giving speeches about workers' rights and equality. Then, World War I starts and everything changes. The socialists say Italy should stay neutral. No war for capitalist profits. Mussolini says the opposite. He says Italy needs this war to expand territory and become powerful through violence. His own party kicks him out for betraying their values. He starts his own newspaper promoting war and nationalism instead. When Italy joins the war, Mussolini enlists and fights on the front lines until a mortar explodes near him. Shrapnel tears into his leg, and he's discharged. He comes home to a country falling apart. The war ends and Italy is destroyed. Soldiers return expecting rewards but get nothing. The economy collapses, inflation skyrockets, people are starving. The government is weak. Mussolini sees his chance. He creates Fasci di Combattimento, a political movement mixing nationalism and violence. His followers wear black shirts and beat up socialists in the streets. They attack union meetings and burn down newspaper offices. His party gets 0 seats in the first elections, but he doesn't quit. Over the next 3 years, the violence grows. The black shirts terrorize anyone who opposes them. The middle class becomes terrified of a communist revolution. Business owners need someone to crush the unions. The military wants a strong leader. They all turn to Mussolini. Then comes October 28, 1922. Mussolini and thousands of black shirts march toward Rome, demanding the king make him prime minister. King Victor Emmanuel III could stop this with the army, but he's afraid of civil war. He thinks he can control Mussolini. The next day, the king gives in. Mussolini becomes prime minister. Within 3 years, he's dismantled democracy completely. He calls himself Il Duce, the leader. He controls the media and creates a secret police. Anyone who speaks against him disappears. For nearly 20 years, he rules Italy with violence and fear. And this is where it gets worse, because Mussolini isn't done. He's about to drag Italy into a war that will destroy everything. Hit subscribe if you think dictators and the people who enable them deserve what's coming. Only bullies and cowards won't hit that button. Mussolini wants to build an empire like ancient Rome. He invades Ethiopia and his army uses poison gas on civilians. They burn villages and massacre thousands. The League of Nations condemns him but does nothing to stop him. He feels untouchable. Then he meets Adolf Hitler. They share the same ideas about dictatorship, military expansion, and crushing democracy. They sign the Pact of Steel, a military alliance between Italy and Nazi Germany. When World War II starts with Hitler invading Poland, Mussolini hesitates. He knows Italy isn't ready for a long war, but months later he can't resist anymore. He declares war on Britain and France, thinking the war will be short and Italy will grab territory easily. He's wrong. His army invades Greece and gets destroyed. They fight in North Africa and lose. Hitler sends them to Russia and they're humiliated. Within 3 years, Italy is collapsing. The people are starving. Cities are being bombed. Soldiers are deserting. Everyone knows Mussolini has failed. When the Allies invade Sicily, Italian troops barely fight back. Behind closed doors, the king and several officials decide Mussolini has to go. The fascist Grand Council holds a secret meeting and votes on his leadership. The vote goes against him. Mussolini is summoned to the royal palace the next day. King Victor Emmanuel III tells him he's done. Marshal Pietro Badoglio is taking over. Mussolini walks out of the palace and is immediately arrested. The government moves him to different locations because they're afraid his supporters will try to rescue him. Finally, they lock him in a remote mountain hotel called Campo Imperatore, deep in the Gran Sasso Mountains. Isolated, unreachable. Days later, the new Italian government signs an armistice with the Allies. Italy surrenders. Troops abandon the fight against the Allies and turn on the Germans. Mussolini is finished, except Hitler won't let him fall. German paratroopers launch Operation Oak. They fly gliders to the mountain hotel, overpower the guards without firing a shot, and rescue Mussolini. Hitler makes him the leader of a puppet state in northern Italy called the Italian Social Republic. But Mussolini is a broken man now. He has no real power, no army, no support. He's just a puppet waiting for the end. By late April 1945, World War II in Europe is almost over. Nazi Germany is collapsing. The Allies and Italian partisan fighters are closing in on northern Italy. Town after town is being liberated. The fascist regime is crumbling. Mussolini knows he's running out of time. His supporters are abandoning him. The Germans are preparing to surrender or retreat. He has no army, no power, nowhere to go. On April 25th, he's in Milan thinking he can make a last stand against the Allies. But when he arrives, the people of Milan have already risen up. The partisans are taking over the city. Cardinal Alfredo Schuster offers to help negotiate a surrender. Mussolini meets with leaders of the National Liberation Committee but refuses to step down. He still believes he can escape and regroup somewhere. He's delusional. He and a small group of loyal fascists leave Milan quickly and head north toward Lake Como. At first he considers fleeing to Germany, but the roads are too dangerous. The Germans are falling apart, so he decides to head for Switzerland, a neutral country where he might avoid capture. His mistress, Clara Petacci, refuses to leave him. She insists on staying by his side no matter what happens. They join a convoy of German SS troops and Italian fascist officials who are also trying to escape. They're all headed toward the Swiss border along Lake Como. Mussolini disguises himself as a German soldier. He wears a grey Luftwaffe overcoat and helmet thinking he can blend in with the retreating Germans. The plan is simple. Hide among the Germans, pass through partisan checkpoints, cross into Switzerland. 2 days later, on the morning of April 27th, the convoy reaches Dongo, a small town on the western shore of Lake Como. This area is controlled by Italian partisans from the 52nd Garibaldi Brigade. Communist resistance fighters led by Pierluigi Bellini delle Stelle and Urbano Lazzaro. They've set up roadblocks to stop fleeing fascists. The partisans block the road and demand the Germans surrender. The Germans know the war is over, fighting is pointless. They hand over their weapons. The partisans start searching the vehicles and pull out Italian fascists one by one. Government ministers, military officers. Mussolini stays inside one of the trucks, silent, hoping nobody recognizes him. But Urbano Lazzaro notices something odd. A short man with a pale face wearing a German coat. The face looks familiar. Lazzaro orders him to step out. Mussolini obeys but says nothing. They pull off his helmet and coat, and it's immediately clear who he is. Mussolini doesn't fight, doesn't resist, he just stands there. The partisans transport him to a farmhouse in the village of Bonzanico di Mezzegra and keep him under guard. Now they have to decide what to do with him. Some suggest handing him over to the Allies. Most want him executed immediately. Mussolini is now a prisoner of the Italian people, and they want revenge. The next morning, orders come from the National Liberation Committee in Milan. A partisan leader named Walter Audizio is chosen to carry out the execution. His code name is Colonel Valerio. Around 2 p.m., Audizio and a small group of partisans arrive at the farmhouse and order Mussolini and Petacci into a red Alfa Romeo. The car drives to Giulino di Mezzegra, a quiet village a few miles away, then stops. The partisans order them to get out. Petacci refuses to let go of Mussolini. They position them in front of a stone wall. At 4:10 p.m., Walter Audicio raises his MAS-38 submachine gun and pulls the trigger. Mussolini is hit in the chest. Petacci screams and lunges toward him. Before she reaches the ground, she's shot multiple times. But the execution doesn't stop there. The partisans unload their weapons into Mussolini's already dead body. Some estimates say he was hit over 40 times. The hatred for him is so strong that just killing him isn't enough. After the execution, the bodies of Mussolini, Petacci, and other executed fascist officials are thrown into the back of a truck. The partisans don't hide the bodies, they parade them through town after town. By the early hours of the next morning, April 29th, the truck enters Milan. Thousands of people have already heard the news. The bodies are being brought to Piazzale Loreto, a public square in the city. The partisans didn't pick this location randomly. Less than a year earlier, Mussolini's fascists executed 15 anti-fascist resistance fighters in this exact square. They dumped the bodies on the ground and left them there for hours in the sun as a warning. Now Mussolini is about to suffer the same fate. But much worse. The truck rolls into Piazzale Loreto and the bodies are dumped on the ground like garbage. People rush forward. They kick Mussolini's body, his face. They spit on him. Several men pull out pistols and fire more bullets into his corpse. Clara Petacci's body gets the same treatment. The mob sees her as part of Mussolini. Her corpse is kicked and beaten. After hours of this, the partisans decide it still isn't enough. They find a metal beam at an Esso gas station on the edge of the square and decide to hang the bodies upside down for everyone to see. The corpses of Mussolini, Petacci, and 4 other fascists are hauled up by their feet using thick ropes and meat hooks. The bodies hang there for hours. Some people find it disturbing. Even Winston Churchill, who fought against Mussolini, later said that executing him was one thing, but the public mutilation was something else. But for many Italians, this is justice. This is revenge for 20 years of dictatorship, for war, for suffering, for terror. After several hours, authorities order the bodies taken down. They're placed in cheap wooden coffins and taken to a morgue. At first, nobody knows what to do with Mussolini's body. There's fear that fascist loyalists might recover it and turn it into a shrine. So, the government buries him in an unmarked grave at Musocco Cemetery outside Milan. But the story doesn't end there. A year later, a group of hardcore fascists steals Mussolini's body from the cemetery. They take it on a secret journey across Italy, wanting to give him a proper fascist burial. The authorities eventually track it down. For 11 years, Mussolini's body is kept hidden by the government. Finally, the Italian government gives in to requests from his family and allows his remains to be buried in his hometown of Predappio. Today, Mussolini's tomb in Predappio still attracts visitors. Some are die-hard fascists who still admire him. Others come out of historical curiosity. This is what happens when you give power to someone who uses fear and violence to control people. This is the end every dictator deserves. If you believe people like Mussolini should never be allowed to rise again, hit subscribe and leave a comment. Only those who support tyrants won't do it. This is how Benito Mussolini died. Not as a hero, not as a leader, as a coward in a ditch. Shot like a dog, hung upside down at a gas station. And that's exactly what he earned.